Hello everyone, and welcome back again to Berlin Noir. For those of you who are fans of this series, well, today's your lucky day because what you are viewing on screen is a guest build from Ping Yao. So in addition to today's episode here on my channel, he is going to have his own build where he is going to build this very detailed and awesome train yard that he completed while I was building and working on Mont Saint Michel. And yeah, as you can see, it's very detailed, and just wanted to add a few cinematic shots here in the beginning just so everyone would be aware of his build over on his channel. So link is in the description to his channel for that build. Go ahead and check it out, and go ahead and subscribe to his channel as well because he has some awesome builds. So for today, we are getting back into the groove, or at least I am for that matter, of building in the style of Berlin and 1929. So for those of you who are new, having subbed over my during the course of my mini-series when I built Mont Saint Michel, this is what I have been working on for a while now. So this is my main series. It is Berlin Noir, as I said in the very beginning, and it's just more not a recreation, but a very heavily inspired and mostly based city on Berlin, set in the year 1929. So a lot of historical builds, and overall just a lot of fun that I've been having with this. But for today, I more or less just to get back into the feeling of, like I said, just back into the vibe of 1929 and Berlin as well. I wanted to just do not something like that was necessarily a real historical location. So what I am building here is not based off of really anything in Berlin, or frankly anywhere for that matter. I just wanted to kind of build something in the city that was a little off from where I've been working, just to, like I said, get back into the feeling of things, and also not have to worry about looking at maps and pictures, so I could, replicate historical locations and such. I wanted to just build without having to worry about any sort of things like that. So I just happened to do this. No really rhyme or reason to it. Really, the only reason that I chose this location just to build this for this episode was I do have a train station. You could kind of get a peek of that right there to the left. That's where those tracks there lead straight to a train station. But I really have been wanting to get some just train traffic and pedestrians and just people using the train lines that I have kind of set up in the city. Really, the only ones that I have were this one right here, which is not really an exact location to anyone in real life in Berlin. But then the other station I have in the heart of where I've been building, the Friedrichstrasse station, I believe. I could totally be thinking about a different one, but yeah, so that's the Friedrichstrasse. I don't know why I was doubting myself on that, but yeah, that is the other station that I have in the city. So there was really no traffic whatsoever. I mean, there was trains moving about, but they were carrying no passengers. So I really wanted to change that, and since I have built the couple train stations in a couple previous episodes before this, and now that I have a train yard, courtesy of Ping Yao, I wanted to try and connect some train lines throughout the city. So this station here, I wanted to add some buildings and, as you can see here, a park, just because I didn't really know what to put on this point, but I wanted to make it look nice. So yeah, so that is more or less why I just decided to build here. And so for the park here that I'm doing, it's nothing too fancy, pretty simple. I just laid some retaining walls, lowered it down because I wanted it to be pretty close to the actual level of the river there. So actually, when I was messing around with it, I had some flooding occasionally, just when I was adjusting the terrain around there. You know, the water mechanics in this game can be a serious pain when you plop something down or move the land and it displaces the water. The next thing you know, you have a freaking tidal wave, more or less, coming through your city. So that's no fun. But yeah, it all turned out fine. So, but anyways, yeah. So this park is quite simple. I just laid some tile networks here, which I do actually change to just kind of simple cobblestone-like textures, because that's kind of modern, I guess. This tile network here, so I do adjust that. You'll see that in a sec. But yeah, I just laid those down, and of course I made sure that pedestrians would actually be able to walk around here, and I laid some path networks and then upgraded those to the invisible paths so that I could, once I actually figured out where I was going to lay each path. But anyways, so yeah, I guess here is when I actually switch over to the I think it's the small cobblestone, just generic cobblestone network, so they look a bit more older and not so modern as the previous tile stone networks, whatever. Yeah, they were just a bit too modern. But also, a couple times in this episode, I screw around with the LUT, the LUT of the city, and just some of the general lighting, you know, adjusting how warm or cool the lighting is. And I do end up going back to more or less the original LUT, but yeah, so it will change a couple times in a few moments. But yeah, the reason I did that is just because when I got the train yard that MacLeod just built, and I imported it through Move It, which is actually how we did it. He built it on his own account, just in a separate location, and then he exported it with Move It, and I used the Move It import feature to place it in my city, which was kind of a pain. That's why this episode is delayed a week. Ran into a couple technical difficulties with that. Also, I had a few buildings disappear, but that's a separate issue, which I did fix. But yeah, so I messed around with the lighting and such, just because when I place that down, all that dirt, it just, I don't know, the gravel texture I had was kind of bright. I wanted one that was a bit darker. So messing around with different gravel textures, and then also trying out different lighting settings, because of course, you know, how you adjust your lighting will also adjust the color of, you know, gravel, grass, every texture in the city. So I was messing around with some. There was one that I thought I liked because the buildings look quite nice with that specific LUT, but the grass did not. At least for Berlin, a European city, it made it look too dry. Whereas you definitely need a nice, rich green color, as I currently have here on the screen. But so I guess, anyways, continuing with this park build here, I wasn't entirely sure what to just place down in the park, aside from just trees. Some of what I was doing, and also more or less what I kept, I don't know, maybe is I don't want to say it's a bit modern, but probably would not have existed, you know, if this were a real location in Berlin in 1929. But yeah, I mean, regardless, I just kept it simple either way. Just laying these, I forget what these trees are called. I just wanted some nice tall trees to line the main paths, because that always looks nice. But so in the center here, in this little larger area, I just wanted to kind of make like a small market, maybe, for people to visit at the park. I end up using just placing some just park benches, so they actually have people that go there and visit the park, which is a table, and sit down there, of course. But also recently, or over the past several weeks, I don't know the creator, at least who released a certain pact, but they're based off of Gize's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, but his collection of market stalls and such, where his prop collection makes it so it's entirely customized. You can do whatever you want, because literally you just have tiny little props of fruit, bread, alcohol, just sitting down and you would make your own thing, which is cool, but it's also a ton of work. So someone else came in, gave credit to the original creator, and made some customized stalls, which I just now realized I happened to do off screen or off camera, which I did not realize I did that. But as you can see there in the center with all the things complaining about no road connection, those have some chairs or tables, and the market stalls, which you will see in the cinematics, since I apparently did not put that in the build. But anyways, as you can see here, a drastic change in lighting and coloring, especially with the grass. So yeah, I don't keep this, don't worry. It's, as you can see, it's dry, almost dead-like, I guess. I believe this was also kind of like I was using settings from my original series that I had on the YouTube channel, from Las Colinas to California, Southern California city. So, for a Southern California city, this type of drier landscape, grass would definitely work much better. But yeah, I honestly don't know why I thought this was a good setting for the amount of time I did, because aside from the fact, like I said, this setting, the buildings looked really, just realistic and quite nice for whatever reason, but it wasn't worth it considering how just bad the grass looks. So yeah, I did change it, so you will see that later in the build as well as the cinematics. But anyways, so I guess one thing that I've been doing a lot on this build is, and just a second ago there, is having to use the terrain networks to just level out the ground, so the paths and such just don't have grass poking through them. Because working with these keys that I believe I actually called them retaining walls earlier, but the river keys, I guess they're also kind of retaining walls, but anyways, yeah, they're the actual keys that the game calls them. But yeah, when you're working with those, regardless if it's vanilla or a workshop item, the terrain does not like to behave around them whatsoever. So the side that you have the land on, it doesn't like let you flatten out the terrain like it does from the most part. But no matter how much you try and just run over the entire area, there's always going to be parts that kind of sunk in and more elevated, and you can't get rid of it unless you screw up the terrain on the side of the water, which of course I didn't want to do, although I do place the terrain networks on the side of the water just to make sure the ground on the riverbed is just level and you don't have little tiny mounds sticking up or poking up along the river wall there. But yeah, so I had to use a lot of those terrain networks just to flatten out the terrain along the park. But nothing too bad. But so anyways, just placing a lot of trees, trying to clump them together just to make them a little more realistic. I did go back and eliminate a couple of the more individual trees that are kind of standing by themselves, and then add some to the clumps just to make the clumps of trees a little bigger, which it looks a little more realistic because that is more or less how trees are in real life along parks. But anyways, that is going to be it there for the park, and we move on to building some just basic buildings around this train line here, just to add in more population,
So again, more people will want to use the train line that I have set up. And so I guess there is one thing that I looked on the workshop for, but I couldn't actually find. So perhaps some of you who are, build European cities yourself are more familiar with. But so the trains, the train vehicles that I have, that I'm using, are for the S-Bahn line in Berlin. So they're the red, white, and yellow colored ones. Whereas I do kind of want to put in some of the U-Bahn trains, because I don't plan on putting like a subway network in the city, but most of it by definition is underground. But where the parts of the U-Bahn line actually are elevated, I would like to have the actual train that those lines use, the nice yellow ones, going on my elevated tracks there, along with the S-Bahn lines. So I was able to find one train, one of the yellow ones, for for a vehicle, but it is exclusively just a metro vehicle, so it can't be placed on these train networks. And I know there's mods that are maybe capable of like switching a metro vehicle to one like a train vehicle, because I know you can do that with train stations, but I'm not really certain if that works with vehicles themselves, because I did find one train U-Bahn vehicle, but it was very modern, so it stood out as not fitting in whatsoever. So I was never going to use that. But the one that I did find that just was unfortunately only for metros was definitely the more old-fashioned original train, which used to ride these tracks, though I believe also still does, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe Berlin still uses some of those. Just, I don't know if it's as a throwback or I'm not really sure, but I've seen images of the older U-Bahn trains going on the tracks, which is pretty cool to see. But yeah, so if any of you have any idea or mods I could convert the train or the metro train to the actual train, let me know. Or if you know a U-Bahn train that I can actually use that's not for a metro, that would also be good. I looked pretty hard, so I'm pretty sure everything that's on the workshop I came across, but you never know. I'm always surprised by the amount of things that people find on the workshop that I somehow missed that would work perfectly in my cities. But yeah, so anyways, let me know if you know of anything, because that would be pretty sweet. But so anyways, this is just some minor detailing the back of these houses, I guess. I place a little communist flag there because eventually I do want to, when I expand to the red capital of this time, which I believe was in Wedding, at least based on the knowledge and information I've gathered. Correct me, all you from Germany or Berlin. But yeah, eventually I do want to build a neighborhood like that, because I think that'll be pretty cool and add some unique historical significance to the series. But yeah, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Probably nothing too soon, since Wedding is a little ways outside of what I've built so far, because I'm not sure. I think I'm going to move on after this area to Alexanderplatz, since the previous episode I did build Museum Island, but we'll see. Those plans are still kind of open. But anyways, we're towards the end of the episode. I do have some extended cinematics just to show some other parts of the city, so I hope you enjoy.